Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Cochran, the CEO of the one and only United States Conference of Mayors. We want to welcome you to the 90th winter meeting of the United States Conference of Mayors here in Washington, D.C. From the music of Richard Rodgers and the lyrics of Oscar Hammerstein, they gave us Oklahoma in 44. They gave us South Pacific in 49. But somewhere in 1945, they gave us Carousel. And so I offer these words from one of the most beautiful songs, in my opinion, that has ever been written. And I dedicate these words to you. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. Walk on through the rain. Walk on through the rain. Walk on through the wind, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you will never, ever walk alone. So many times during this time, since we last met here in this hotel in 2020, mayors have been alone. You have been in the dark. We have had this pandemic. We have had mass shootings. We've had social uprisings, Black Lives Matter demonstrations. There was a time when people demonstrated in front of city halls. Now they come to your homes. The demonstrators come to your homes. The left is upset. Defund the police. The right want more cops. And so you have to console your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, your spouse, your partner, your lover. And yet, after you console all of those people, it's just not really good enough. You have to console each other. When the mass shootings happened in El Paso, Brother D. Margot, a few days later, talked to his sister, Nan Whaley. They came together, and that's what mayors do. They come together, they reach out. They reach out to each other, they console each other in a healing, in a way, and it gives them leadership and courage. And so it's very special. It's very special the way that the mayors support each other, and we want to continue to do that. In Dayton at our leadership meeting, I talked about the scientific work of Dr. Emile Durkheim. He was a French sociologist who established the academic discipline of sociology. And in 1895, he is credited in what he termed a collective effervescence. And that is when a group of individuals come together in a certain way that when they are assembled in a fashion, a certain electricity is created, leading participants to act as a group, going beyond what they might do as an individual. Durkheim sought to establish and describe this sense of energy and harmony when people feel they have a shared purpose. And on a cheery note, modern research shows us that they have found that people laugh 5 times as much when they are with others. Now, if you don't believe that, you should have been in the bar last night at 10 o'clock. I went to bed and I heard them laughing and I felt very good. We were all back together. We are social animals. Mayors love people. We are gregarious. As we say, mayors are people. Ladies and gentlemen, when we left this hotel in 2020, we didn't know what the hell was in front of us. But we had the collective effervescence. And lo and behold, boom, we found Zoom. And I went into my staff room and I said, listen, we're going to have Zooms like music lessons, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we did. 500 of them. And while we were not physically together, we forged onward, together with all of you, with Nan Whaley, with Jeff Richards, and David Holt. We never gave up. Then they had this CARES Act. You remember that? Listen, let me tell you something. It was trouble. Trouble in River City. The mayor of Miami called me and said, listen, nobody in Florida got any damn money down here but Jacksonville. So I said, I said to myself, call the National League of Cities. Let's turn these small cities on, and we did. We did. You know, we could not hug each other, we could not touch each other, we're not near to each other, but we kept the spirit of this Conference of Mayors alive. To rise above bitter partisanship, to rise above hate in this pandemic, to produce a collective consensus of $67.1 billion coming directly, not just to New York, not just to Chicago, but little old Butler, Georgia, where I grew up, they got some damn money too. So everybody got a piece of it. And let me tell you something. Nancy Pelosi is the queen of this piece of legislation. I cannot tell you she is the, her daddy was a mayor, her brother was a mayor, and although, you know, she's got that San Francisco feel, she's still a Baltimore girl. So when she comes to this organization, I hope you will give her a standing ovation to thank her, to make sure that, you know, we had the direct funding. Today in our great federal city, our capital, Washington, D.C., we are finally together again. The challenge of America, you know, you do the potholes, you pick up the trash, you put people in jail, you wipe away the tears, but the challenge of America always comes from the main street, in your neighborhoods. But I say unto you, those of you who come with us can be a part of history on the right side of history. In 1963, a young president came to Hawaii, and he came forth with 5 points on civil rights, and we supported him. We supported President Johnson. In '64, a white mayor, a businessman from Atlanta, Georgia named Ivan Allen, came and testified for public accommodations. In 1965, we stood with President Johnson and worked with him on the Voting Rights Act, which is threatened today. And you may not know this, but in 1963, in the headquarters of the Conference of Mayors, my former boss worked with Bayard Rustin to help Dr. King in the March on Washington. With President Nixon, we had EPA. We had CDBG. We had incredible relationships with President Nixon. And then, of course, later in 1971, the mayor stood in Philadelphia to say, bring our boys home. We went on record against the Vietnam War. So through the years, we were there with President Carter on women's rights, and we did everything we could in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic with C. Everett Koop and a young dark-haired doctor named Dr. Fossey. He came into this hotel, and we worked to told American people about the AIDS epidemic. So there's something about this group called the Conference of Mayors. We do bridges, we build buildings, we have beautiful cities, but there is this social movement that we have that's very special. Some presidents have said we have to be great again. I say we are great. We are great. And I'll say this, you know, I was very impressed what President George W. Bush said in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, talking about the frontline workers. And I feel like that mayors in this room are frontline workers. He says, I don't know what they're talking about. You are America, the America that I know, and you mayors are the conference of mayors will continue to take us through the storms, the darkness, the rain, and the wind. No matter who's in the State House, no matter who's in the White House, no matter who's in Congress, together, you know, now and always, mayors have, mayors can, and mayors will make the difference. I was very encouraged today with our President Suarez when we had the young mayors. There's something about these young mayors, when they come in here, some of them look like my grandchildren. I swear to God. I mean, you know, I'm old as hell, I'm going to tell you right now. But let me tell you something. I listen to Mrs. Couch, I listen to Mr. Barnett, Mr. Fisher, I'm listening to these young mayors. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite people was Francis Albert Sinatra. This is what he said. He said, out of the tree of life, I just picked a plum. You came along and everything started to hum. Still, it's a real good bet, the best is yet to come. Jack Kennedy said, let us go forth. Ronald Reagan said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the United States Conference of Mayors President, Mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez.
Oh, I forgot to take off the mute button. Just had to roll with that Zoom joke. Well, good afternoon, mayors, and welcome to the official opening session of the 90th winter meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. We have mayors from 41 states. We have mayors representing every size community as well. Mayors gathered here represent every corner, every creed, and every version of American life. Can we have all the mayors please stand up? But we also know that we can't have a conference like this without thanking the following organizations for their partnership, sponsorship, and collaboration during this year's winter meeting. First, the American Beverage Association, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, Americans for Art, Comcast, DOL Seed, the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, GoDaddy. That sounds funny. GoDaddy. GoDaddy. Just keep saying it. If you guys can keep laughing, I'm just going to keep saying it. HDR, IKE Smart City, IKE, Sidewalk Infrastructure Partners, Starbucks. Where's my espresso? Where are you guys? Double espresso? I'm waiting outside? No? Wells Fargo. And please give them all a big round of applause. So now it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce the District of Columbia Mayor Muriel Bowser, to welcome us to our city and her hometown. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to risk this in a room full of mayors by saying, welcome to the best city in the world. It is my pleasure indeed, Mayor Suarez, to welcome you to Washington, D.C., to thank you all for your leadership. I want to thank you, Mayor Suarez, and congratulate you on assuming our leadership of mayors. I want to thank Tom and his team for bringing us all together in person. Let's give the U.S. Conference a big round of applause. I have to emphasize what's been said, that we represent the governments that have been working day in and day out to keep our communities safe. We've been doing it in person. We're keeping our schools open and our business sector thriving and our communities moving forward. For nearly 2 years, our cities have grappled with this coronavirus, and we have evolved with this virus. And although the pandemic has prevented us from hosting our big embassy reception this year, I am hopeful that we will return to that big celebration very soon. I know that our ability to move forward has been aided by the efforts of the Biden-Harris administration and the American Rescue Plan and the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. I am quite sure that your cities have experienced what we have with the transformative infusion of dollars. Thanks to these investments, DC is set to rehabilitate and replace some of our oldest high-cost bridges and highways and replace them with new infrastructure. In addition to traditional infrastructure, we're also poised to build out charging stations, more high-speed internet, and we will continue to improve our water infrastructure. We know, too, that we're looking forward to other investments, like continuing to reduce prescription drugs costs, expanding affordable housing, expanding the child care tax credit, and for goodness sakes, having more of our children in free pre-K-3. These are not contentious issues. These are supports that recognize the reality of what everyday Americans are experiencing. And as mayors, we know that COVID is not our only emergency, and Tom, you're quite right. We're responding to gun violence that has increased in cities and towns, and we're facing new concerns about housing and homelessness, cybersecurity, and climate change, and we're doing it all at once. We know, too, that we're focused on our very democracy and focused on making sure that we're protecting the precious right to vote, and for us in D.C., getting the right to vote in Congress. And that is why it is so important that we pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the 51st State Admissions Act for Washington, D.C. When cities come together, we can rise to our nation's largest challenges. And as mayors, we have been at the forefront, whether we are giving out tests, making sure people are getting vaccinated, getting masks, you name it. We've done it in the last 2 years. And the next 2 years may even be the most important because we're also in charge of the comeback, is what I like to say in D.C. And that comeback has to be worthy of the 24 months of sacrifice that we've made. And I know that we can do it. We're going to work with the conference to make sure that the federal government is going to be right there with us, whether it's testing, saving public transit, transforming our downtowns, making more and better use of our public spaces. This is what will bring back America's cities, and I know we can make it happen. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Keep pushing, mayors. We can get this done.